This is the President's Secret Forces, the Time Soldiers. I'm Colonel Stanton. In this episode, the Time Soldiers have to go onto an island that is just going to be completely unbelievable. Devil's Island is an island in the Bermuda Triangle which has not really been identified. Quite honestly, we're going to have a devil of a time finding it. Dr. Harry Langdon, the visionist, the man who'd helped us in the past find the man in black, is going to come up with a dream that he has. And in that dream, he sees 1 million airplanes on an island somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle with planes that are bombers. These planes, as he sees them, are still on the ground, and they're fully loaded. He believes that the reason that those planes are there are to come through from the Bermuda Triangle straight over the United States and bomb the country. Now, Dr. Harry Langdon is 100% accurate, usually, when he gives us one of these visions. Franklin D. Roosevelt has the Time Doctor bring a American flyer out of the time machine who was his secret agent between he and Winston Churchill before the United States got into World War II. It turns out, though, that this flyer is actually Hank Lee's father. And finally, Captain Bligh will know his fate as he sits before the chief executives and finds out whether or not he's going to be a general or maybe be bounced out of the President's Secret Forces. All right, so let's get to it. The President's Secret Forces, the Time Soldiers, the latest adventure, Hell on Devil's Island.
All right, you've been briefed.
Mr. Christopher, are you sure you know what you're doing?
Now, Mr. Bligh, I am a lawyer. Now, you need to just relax.
I believe you have a good case, Mr. Bligh.
Yes, and maybe when you get finished with me in here, I'll be in a prison.
All I ask, Mr. Bligh, is that you have just a little bit of patience now.
Hello, Mr. Christopher and Mr. Bligh. I am George Washington before you. To my right,
Franklin D. Roosevelt.
And to my left, Mr. James Madison. The case we find before us today is the one of Ensign Bligh and his past with the mutiny on the Bounty case. Yes, Your Honor, and if I may, I'd like to speak on this case.
All right, Mr. Christopher, go right ahead.
Mr. Chief Executives, Mr. Bligh here's case is basically about his past. As a captain and a general, he has had a perfect record. We could even bring in witnesses, like, for instance, Colonel Putnam, who spoke up for him on one occasion before you Chief Executives.
Yes, Mr. Christopher, I believe that we all remember when Colonel Putnam spoke up for Mr. Bligh.
Mr. Chief Executives, when we talk about a person's past, sometimes, sir, it's not always flattering. We all know, of course, the story of Mr. Bligh and the Roger Bynum book on Mutiny on the Bounty. And in that book, sir, there's some things that aren't very flattering to Mr. Bligh. Now, Mr. Chief Executives, everybody has something in their past that they don't like. With all due respect, sir, didn't some of you all Chief Executives own slaves in your past life before you came out of the time machine? Now, Mr. Christopher, the Chief Executives here are not on trial, sir.
With all due respect, Mr. Roosevelt, I wasn't meaning to imply that they were, but I think I'll make my point that, sirs, Mr. Bligh isn't on trial for his past either. Touché, Mr. Christopher. Maybe you're not such a bad lawyer after all. All right, Attorney Christopher, if there's nothing else, to go and rule on your on this case. Nothing further, Mr. Chief Executives. Attorney Christopher, Mr. Bly, we've looked over your case, and we feel that the situation really is quite easy to figure out. Mr. Bly's record has actually been very good, and we're not going to look at his past, we're going to look ahead. So, Mr. Bly, you're going to be reinstated and bumped up to a two-star general, and you will be heading up and being in charge of the South Base, which will begin next Monday. Good work, Mr. Christian. I mean, Mr. Christopher, of course. My. Wasn't that a bloody Freudian slip? All right, well, congratulations, Mr. General Bly. If there's nothing... no, nothing, President Roosevelt. And President Madison, anything further? No, nothing.
So you're saying General Bly is a general again? Yes, I'll be with you just a minute, Mr. Ladd. You know, only if the chief executives really knew Bly like we know him. All right, thank you very much for the heads up, Colonel Putnam. This really is not good news. All right, I'll talk to you again later. Thank you, sir. Yes, what is it, Mr. Ladd? Colonel Stanton, Dr. Harry Langdon is outside to see you, sir. Dr. Harry Langdon? You mean the visionist, Harry Langdon? Yes, one and the same, sir. I wonder what he wants out of the blue like this. All right, send him in, Mr. Ladd. Haven't seen Harry Langdon since the Man in Black case. And when Langdon comes around, it's usually no joke. He's got good information. Colonel Stanton, Dr. Harry Langdon. Thank you, Mr. Ladd. That'll be all. Well, Mr. Langdon, long time no see. Have a seat over there. Thank you, Colonel Stanton. Well, Harry Langdon, what's on your mind? Well, I'm sorry about barging in on you like this, Colonel Stanton, but I've got some very strange news for you. Oh, what'd you do, Harry? Have another one of those strange dreams or something? Yes, Colonel Stanton. I saw 1 million planes, bombers, on the ground somewhere here in the Devil's Triangle. And I believe they're going to try to bomb the United States. Whew. You say 1 million planes. Now, Mr. Langdon, you've been 100% accurate before. And are you sure about this? Colonel Stanton, I'm just as sure as I was those other times. Mr. Ladd, come in here and bring your stenographer's setup. We're going to need to take some notes. Immediately, Mr. Ladd. Well, President Roosevelt, it is now time to hit the button for Commander Lee to come out. Why, that is wonderful, Time Doctor. Go right ahead, any time. Yes, here, President Roosevelt. Let me open the door. Who the devil are you? Nazis? Oh. Quick, help him, Time Doctor. It's okay, Mr. President. Everyone acts that way when they first come out of the time machine. Time Doctor, you just don't know how valuable that man was to me and the United States before we entered World War II. Come on, President Roosevelt. I'll go check him out now. Excuse me, President Washington. Oh, yes, Lieutenant Webb. Now, you were expecting, Colonel Stanton, sir. Oh, yes, Lieutenant Webb, get, Colonel Stanton a seat over there. Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant Webb. Colonel Stanton, I was just looking over the, report that you just sent over from, speaking with, Dr. Harry Langdon. Well, Mr. President, I have to admit that the story did sound a little bit far-fetched at first. Far-fetched at first? I submit that it's far-fetched altogether. Well, President Eisenhower, Harry Langdon, Dr. Harry Langdon, has been very reliable in the past. Colonel Stanton, some old kook has a nightmare because he got hold of some bad Linguinian clam sauce and tells you a horror story that he, after waking up in a cold sweat. The problem with you, Eisenhower, is you don't know Harry Langdon and what he's already done for the time soldiers. Well, I know I can tell you, where time soldiers are all tied up across the world, involved in big conflicts that they don't need to come over and go on some wild goose chase, thinning out the military, even these other military to fend for themselves, while we're wasting our men's time. Listen, Eisenhower, if you'd stop wasting your time sitting around doing nothing, running your big mouth, and start reading some of the case histories, you would have read the story about the man in black when we were chasing him. We needed help, and Harry Langdon helped us find him. He was the guy who took the box that belonged to the president and held the coordinates for the atomic bomb. So the whole world owes this Dr. Harry Langdon a debt of gratitude for what he did. And so do you, President Eisenhower. All right, Mr. Chief Executive, I think both of you got your points across. Yes, I believe that both of you did get your points across. Colonel Stanton, our men are spread a bit thin right now, but where are our other men who are the closest here to Shark Island that we can pull them out of wherever they are and bring them down here to the Bermuda Triangle? Well, sir, I have Hank Lee and a group of time soldiers up around Nantucket. They can be down within 48 hours down around here back in the Bermuda Triangle. They can take some torpedo boats and go down and check out the area, sir. All right, very well, Colonel Stanton. That's what we'll do. In the meantime, we'll try to free up some more help. And if it should turn out that this information from Dr. Langdon is true, then we'll have what we need. All right, Colonel Stanton, that will be all. Go ahead and carry that out. All right, Mr. Chief Executive. Oh, Colonel Stanton, one thing, sir. Yes, President Roosevelt. Say hello to Dr. Harry Langdon when you see him. I will, sir. Hey, what is that? Oh. Man, what is going on? Oh. Oh. Gotta get away.
Well, Tick, you enjoying your stay here in Devil's Island?
Tick, is that the coffin that's bearing the body of the man in black? Well, don't stand there, Tick. Open it up. We're on our way, Tick. And all of that